Would you rather give Sam Bennett $10 million a year or say Mitch Marner $12.5 million a year?
Mitch Marner, 12.5.
All day. Let's talk some Mitch Marner dominoes, because famously Mitch Marner is about to hit free agency. We all expect he will not be back with the Leafs. He will test the waters. And Pierre LeBrun on 1050 Overdrive said Anaheim, Detroit, and Chicago, quote, will want to get in on it. And then he noted that while Ken Holland did not say anything about Mitch Marner specifically, because you can't, he said that he spoke to Ken Holland for a story, and Holland had said, oh, absolutely, the Kings are going to be very aggressive in this offseason, so maybe LA could be a team. But here's the money quote from Pierre LeBrun on 1050 Overdrive. Quote, Marner himself will probably look at the usual suspects. Florida, Vegas, all the teams that we always end up keying on where players seem to love to go. I think those teams will probably be on his list as well. The ones that stand out, Florida and Vegas.
And
because,
Buffalo.
What's that?
I said and Buffalo.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Yep. Usual suspects.
Everyone loves them.
Florida, Vegas, Buffalo. I actually heard a GM talk about Florida and Buffalo in the same sentence when talking about attracting free agents.
Similar climate.
I'm assuming he was saying that it was a similar thing.
Climate, similar tax structure.
Similar, what would you call like the similar trees? Like what would not ecology.
I know the word. Fuck. Oh, that's gonna eat me. I can't think of it.
Etymology.
No, it's like
biology.
Like
geography.
It's like planted. Like it's not plantage, but it's like the word for like foliage almost, but not exact. That's not exactly what I'm looking for.
It's saying I wrote tree ecology and it says forest ecology. That's not what I'm talking about.
Chat will probably.
Somebody in the chat's gonna get it in like 8 seconds. But anyway, yeah. The usual suspects will say, but let's even whittle that
horticulture. Yes,
horticulture, similar horticulture. Let's be adventurous though, and whittle that list down even further, and not include Buffalo for some reason. And we'll say Florida and Vegas. Florida, we had speculated, was already kind of pitching Mitch Marner by saying,
"Hey, it's easier to play here."
Tough playing in, they got some really good players there. If they were playing somewhere else, they would probably have an easier time and would not have to deal with as much. So if it's Florida, they got $19 million in cap space. And the big question I'm left with is, would you rather, if you have to give Sam Bennett, say $10 million a year, and we're in agreement with John Butchergross that 8 times 8 should be the deal for Sam Bennett, is it an overpayment? Maybe a little bit, but whatever. He means a lot to that team. I don't think you can give him the huge contract he might get somewhere else, but let's say it's $10 million a year for the Panthers to keep Sam Bennett. Would you rather give Sam Bennett $10 million a year or say Mitch Marner $12.5 million a year?
Mitch Marner, 12.5.
All day. And the loss of Sam Bennett will be felt. But Mitch Marner is an unbelievable player, and Sam Bennett is a very good player.
Unbelievable player, and he'd be going to a place that already has the edge built in Florida that would mitigate what Mitch Marner does not bring to the lineup. And that's like the big thing, is that you can have the highly skilled guys who are not as willing to get into the mud or have that edge, but you have to have it on their team. And Florida has it in spades.
Can I note that in addition to making great points, Pete has now had back-to-back shows where he has crushed a word starting with M. He said malleable on Sunday's show and not only used the word correctly, something that I don't think any of us on this show had done. It was just such a good point. He used malleable without a second thought in a great point. Mitigate now. Has Daddy cracked into the M section of the dictionary, or are you just on a different level than the rest of us?
I've got glasses now. I'm wearing glasses today. It has just elevated my IQ by at least 45 points.
Well, you're fucking crushing it.
So I'm up to like a 63.
Cannot wait for the next word. I agree with every word of that. There's not going to be a no, Mitch Marner isn't this type of player. It would just be like, so the Panthers now have Sasha Barkov and Mitch Marner. Good luck playing against that team when it's tough to score on that. And then good luck playing against everybody else where it's tough to do anything against them because they're assholes. Mitch Marner would be awesome for the Panthers.
And it's the same reason that I said yesterday or yesterday's show why I would pay Sam Bennett $10 million if I'm Carolina. because Carolina doesn't have that shit. And that's why I don't want Carolina to pay Mitch Marner. He fits too much into the mold of what they already have. Whereas like you swap those guys in those locations, I think they're both like really, really great fits. Mitch Marner to Florida, Sam Bennett to Carolina. Both make a ton of sense for me. And I would overpay for Sam Bennett. And I think like $12.5 million is bargain bin stuff for Mitch Marner.
My response to all this, I guess, though, is that like the Florida Panthers have presumably gone to 3 straight Stanley Cups. Like, why would you fuck with that? Like, if you can choose between Sam Bennett and Mitch Marner, Sam Bennett, who continuously shows up in the biggest moments for you, and Mitch Marner, who is known for disappearing in those moments, and you have been to 3 straight times, like, why would you even consider fucking?
Because you can't rest on your laurels. You can't get too comfortable.
But I don't think it's resting on your laurels. I think it's making your team worse.
But I think it's projecting what these players will be over the course of that contract that you're giving them. It's
but I mean, if you can win 2 more Stanley Cups at the beginning of that contract with Sam Bennett, who gives a shit what it looks like at the end of it?
I just think that what Sam Bennett brings is more replaceable than what Mitch Marner would be able to bring.
I guess, yeah, but I'm just saying, why would you risk finding out?
I guess, but like you could have the same conversation as to why would you trade Jonathan Huberdeau when he was your leading scorer on your President's Trophy winning team?
And he's a center.
You are really, really risking messing up what you've got there.
The difference is that you took an analysis of that and decided they would not be able to get you over the hump. You don't. That's not an analysis you have. You've been to 3 straight Stanley Cups, have won at least one of those. Like,
yeah, like it is a proven.
It's a proven formula, and the risk you're taking is adding a guy who I don't want to go so far as to say that he is like. I don't think Mitch Marner is the reason it's not working in Tampa or in Toronto, but like, do you want to introduce that energy to a locker room when it has worked unbelievably well over the last 3 years?
Well, I also think that like when you look at a history of teams that have had sustained success, a big part of the reason that they eventually fall apart is they fall in love with their own guys and they commit too much money, too much term to their own guys, and they try to just like keep that window open for too long instead of making the difficult decisions that are better for the long term and kind of readjusting what you have in a group.
This would be the Boston Celtics swapping out Marcus Smart, who is better on the Boston Celtics than he is anywhere else, and he's of such high value to them, for Kristaps Porzingis.
Except it's not better because they have won. Like the Celtics, again, that was an analysis that they couldn't get over the hump with that situation. Fair. Florida is not making that analysis. They're taking a risk that somehow they are going to be better at getting to the Stanley Cup with Mitch Marner than they are with Sam Bennett, which I don't think that's a good analysis to have.
I think it's a great conversation.
Yeah, it's
and
fair.
I don't think that I'm on Pete's side. I would rather Marner. And $12.5 million is a lot of money, but the tax savings and everything makes it so maybe he signs for $12.5 million. But I'm just saying that you do this if it gets to Sam Bennett's going to cost you $10 million.
And an important part of the conversation is that 12.5 for Marner is under market value, and 10 for Bennett is over market value.
Is fair. So over market value.
What if those $2 million are the difference between you holding on to like Marchand
or Ekblad or something? I was gonna say, if I'm signing Marner, I'm also trying really hard to keep Marchand, because losing Bennett and Marchand while bringing on a non-sandpapery type of player, that's fair. Like, how much of that do you want to lose at once?
I will also say, we were talking about this a little off before the show. Like, what is their goalie situation going to look like in 2 years? So, like, if you don't have an answer to that, why I wouldn't put so many eggs in like what are these contracts going to look over the life of them? Like, you kind of have to do I don't know what a good comparison would be, but I think you kind of have to really bank on the beginning of those contracts in that window and hope you get lucky later on.
Well, if you think the goaltending is not going to be on the Florida Panthers in the next 3 years, you don't know.
What is anybody's goaltending going to look like in 2 years? Because even if you've got the best goaltender in the league right now, what is that person going to look like in 2 years? It is completely unpredictable.
Now, this rules, because I thought it would be the Vegas conversation that would really get stretched out here, and we'd really be going through everything. So Florida is interesting enough. Great conversation. If it's Vegas, they've got $9.61 million in cap space this summer. Jack Eichel is up at the end of next year, $10 million. He needs a raise, or maybe he goes bye-bye. And Mark Stone is up the year after that. He makes $9.5 million a year. 2 summers from now, the Vegas Golden Knights have $69.32 million in cap space. So they could sign Mitch Marner this offseason, and it won't be crazy long-term. It would be more about the here and now. How would they fit a Mitch Marner? And I think the easiest avenue to that is they would need to trade Mark Stone, who, as I said, has a $9.5 million cap hit the next 2 years. He's 33 years old. Would you do that if you're Vegas, for starters? Would you trade Mark Stone to add Mitch Marner?
That one's tough because, like, logically, it's probably a savvy move because, like, Mark Stone has injury concerns. He is
getting up there,
getting up there in age, probably going to be diminishing returns. But he's such a heart and soul guy. He's such a playoff player. He is just somebody that you want on your team when you're going into battle.
We'll say Vegas is the kind of team that would do something like that.
Yeah,
like Vegas has proven that they don't.
I know.
Not that they don't. I think they clearly care about their fan base, but they care about winning more than anything. And
like, you're a better regular season team with Mitch Marner instead of Mark Stone. But what does it look like in the playoffs?
I think that this move would it would establish and further cement that your roster is going to have a lot of star players for a long time. And we also talked about, this could be good or bad. If you have Mitch Marner on your team next year and say he's playing with Jack Eichel is in the Hart conversation. He's been knocking at that door anyway. He gets to a level playing on that team, and maybe he ends up outpricing himself as a result, but he stays in love with Vegas and he sticks around.
I guess my problem is, like, really, what is Mitch Marner's medal like? Like, because there's the Cassidy of it all too. It can go one of two ways. Like, it can go, you can make Marner into the kind of guy that he should be, you want him to be, or it could be more of like a Boston thing where Mitch Marner's just like, fuck this guy, I don't want to play for him. Obviously that's a thing that he would have to go through when he's signing there, so maybe that's not that big of an issue. But, like, I don't know, that could go, I think it has a chance of going poorly just as much as it has a chance of going well. Okay,
so that's interesting. We did the would you do that if you're Vegas. Now here's where it gets really fun. Say Vegas does do that. They say, we're moving on from Mark Stone. We are signing Mitch Marner. We have this star player, this great guy, as Pete said, just ultimate heart and soul player, 33 years old on a 2-year contract. We have him on the market. I don't know what they're getting for him. I think they probably are getting a lot because he's still a really good player. And also, like, these are the teams I have written down. Utah. Mm-hmm. If Utah, with all their young players, can get a Mark Stone, unbelievable. You mentioned in our text thread, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg would be a lot of
Goes
fun.
home.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Chicago. Oh, boy, does Chicago need Mark Stone.
Yeah, but I would feel bad for Mark
Stone.
You'd feel bad for Mark Stone.
Need?
Here's a really fun one. Mark Stone, I couldn't remember the team I was going to say. Mark Stone left Ottawa because he didn't want to be part of a rebuild. What a life hack to skip out on the rebuild, win a cup, and then get continue on.
Very cool.
That would be so cool.
That would be very cool. I mean, there's a number of teams that would really, really interest me for Mark Stone. Minnesota could be a fun one.
They got the space, famously.
True. It's freed up.
You know what's a good one?
Montreal.
Oh.
Montreal would be a good one.
But
Montreal would love
Sid's
Mark
taking
Stone.
that money.
Huh?
Sid's taking that money.
That's right.
Cap's going up, but Sid's going to Montreal.
Yeah.
Did you have another one?
No.
Check this one out. Nashville. Fits their timeline. Derogatory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, if he just wants to go hang out with some other old guys.
I think based off of what you saw in Nashville, it definitely fit the mold, derogatory. but it is the exact opposite direction you should be heading in if you are the Nashville Predators.
Look at us, just a bunch of 34-year-olds. Are we 34 or what?
I mean,
Do you think Jonathan Marchand is ringing up Mark Stone, old pal Mark Stone in Vegas, and saying, "Come on down, buddy. This is a really awesome time here. We miss you.
You gotta get here.
Yeah.
Nashville's where it's at, brother."
hate bringing everything back to Buffalo, but fuck,
I mean,
the Sabres could use a guy like Mark Stone.
I mean,
Mark
Stone.
Bruins honestly could use a guy like Mark Stone.
Sabres have guys that might be on the way out.
There would be some questions though of like, wait, so you wouldn't keep Brad Marchand for $7+ million a year, and your solution was you traded something to get Mark Stone for $9.5 million a year?
Hey, you might not have to trade something to get Mark Stone. The Vegas Golden Knights have set a precedent for just giving away players that they are no longer really interested in to free up room. Marc-Andre Fleury won a Vezina, and they traded him for literally nothing that offseason.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I think that there would be a real market for Stone though, and I think like Utah. BA has told us when he's making trades, he'll call up a team and he'll say, "Hey, this is what we think of this guy. This is what we think he's worth. We're paying for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've got the stuff. We will pay you to have this guy."
Not a very far move either.
Not a far move. Mark Stone in Utah. And I thought Utah for Stone because Merrick on the sheet said that Utah shouldn't be going after Marner. They should be going after John Tavares, which I thought was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of thing where let's get you for a couple of years, show these guys how it's done. My question is, I know that John Tavares is like a stand-up guy, very professional and everything. I don't know that Tavares has the how it's done to him, though.
I don't know if he's like an igniter.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Also,
Here's
you
a
wanna move
theory.
that far.
We mentioned Bruins, and the Bruins could use a guy like Mark Stone. What if the Bruins go out trade for Mark Stone and to plant the seed for a Jack Eichel sweepstakes or situation next summer?
I've been sitting on because I was doing a hit somewhere last week where they want to talk about like, oh, Sweeney's back. What moves should he be working on? What's like the biggest crazy thing he could do? And the craziest thing I could think of was Jack Eichel. If we can think of it, you know that the Bruins are.
But the flip side of that conversation is if they're moving Mark Stone out, it's probably to get Mitch Marner, like you suggested. Is Jack Eichel signing in Boston to play with Mark Stone again when he's playing, presumably, with Mitch Marner in Vegas?
And at that point, presumably wearing a C.
Is Jack
True.
Eichel signing in Boston to play with David Pastrnak? That is tasty.
Okay, also a good point. Mitch Marner
Wow.
or David Pastrnak and Mark Stone.
Plus, per John Butchergross, when the Oilers have to trade Leon Draisaitl in 2 years, Boston's keeping the seat warm. Head coach Sturm is ready to bring him on board. And bingo, bango, bongo, you've got second-line center Jack Eichel playing with Mark Stone.
Yes, perfect.
Your second line is Vegas's first line.
And I think the bigger point,
they're 80 now.
The biggest point in the spirit of this conversation is that Mitch Marner's free agency is a lot more interesting than maybe we gave it credit for.
It's a lot more. It's bigger than Mitch Marner.
And
it's a lot bigger than Mitch Marner, yeah.
We all silly like the mayor.